One of our most highly viewed and disputed videos we've done on Made for Glory is asking the question why women can't become Catholic priests. So today we're going to look at why women can't become Catholic priests, part 2. On an earlier episode of Made for Glory, which I recommend that you watch, we talked about why women can't become Catholic priests. And really it goes back to Jesus, that Jesus had many followers. And I would say probably his best followers, his holiest and most faithful followers were usually women. But that he chose the men who were his followers to be his priests. And we kind of started to ask the question, why? And something intrinsic to the priesthood of why Jesus would choose men to be his priests when he had his mother who was super holy. He had Mary Magdalene, Mary of Clopas, all these incredible women. He had Mary and Martha, his two dear friends that he could have chosen to be his priests, that he chose men. And there's something important behind that. And we, as the church, don't have the authority to undo what Jesus did there, to ordain women priests when Jesus actually only ordained called men to be his priests, to celebrate the sacraments, and to have that specific role of ministry and leadership within the community. And that men as priests are called to be husbands and fathers. And that's something very distinctive and important for them. But when we continue to look at that, and a lot of people struggled with that, and a lot of the comments were maybe even a little bit angry at that response, I think as we continue to go a little deeper, we should ask the question, so what is the role of women within the church? Because one of the traps that we fall into is what's called clericalism. Clericalism basically says that only what the clerics, the priests do, that's the only important thing in the church. And so if other people want to be raised up, whether that's lay men or women or children or whoever else, if they want to be important in the church, then they have to do what is normally done by the priest, or they have to act as priests. And that's the only way that they can be important or have any sort of dignity or leadership value within the church. And I think that's a lie, because the reality of the church, the reality of baptism is that every single one of us have been baptized into Christ Jesus, that we are all called to participate in the universal priesthood of all the baptized. We're also called to be prophets. We're also called to be kings, to be royalty, to rule and to have dominion over this world as members of the church. That's for men, that's for women. And so I think that any woman that maybe is struggling with that, just a word of encouragement, first of all, that the church has often done a terrible job of recognizing women's giftedness, of allowing them to lead in dynamic ways in the church. But where that's happening, and there's so many amazing things that are happening, not by women pretending to be priests, but by women living the truth and power of their baptism, women becoming saints. We see this in the great saints in the history of the church. I think of great saints like St. Catherine of Siena, who was able to correct through her prophetic voice and witness the ineptitude and the sinfulness of the Pope and the hierarchy, the clerics of her own day. I think of that in modern times of great women saints like St. Teresa of Calcutta or St. Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, or of Dorothy Day, or other women who have boldly fought for what is right, have boldly stood up for the truth, have lived the grace and power that is theirs as women. And because of that, they have reflected God's own heart. That women and men are different is okay, but that both of them are made in the image and likeness of God. We are called in a complementary way to help one another to grow in holiness, to help one another and to help the church to be a more bold and joyful witness of the truth of the gospel. So while we can and should have more opportunities for women in positions of leadership, women who can preach and proclaim the gospel, women who can lead in the church and outside of the church, to recognize that them not being priests is not an affront to their dignity and value. It's actually upholding the dignity and value of each and every human person. And women and men, all of us as followers of Jesus Christ, are called to do that through our lives and through our actions. What's up, YouTube? Thanks so much for watching. Please make sure to like, to comment, also to subscribe, and make sure you click that bell so you can know when we have new videos that are coming out. And if you want to support the great work that's happening, please click on our Patreon button down below. We'd love for you to partner with us. Thanks so much. Have a great day.